All right, so are you ready to pull back the curtain a bit today? Because we are diving deep into the world of talent agents.
Ooh,
Those
fun.
folks who really make the entertainment industry tick, right? Like connecting artists with opportunities and making deals and all of that. And you know what's really cool about this is
What's that?
our listeners have sent in a ton of info on this. We've got career guides, interview, advice, even resources on some new tech. So I think we've got a lot to unpack.
Yeah, let's dive in.
So first things first, when we say talent agent, what exactly are we talking about?
I think the first image for a lot of people is probably like red carpets and fancy parties.
Right.
And while that might be part of it, the real core of it is like being a strategic advocate, right? Like at the heart of it, you're connecting people, actors, writers, musicians, athletes, you name it, with opportunities in entertainment, broadly speaking.
Yeah.
And that means negotiating contracts, managing their public image, and basically just helping them navigate this business, which can be kind of a beast.
Navigate the murky waters, you mean?
Uh-huh, exactly.
And you bring up a good point there. It's not just those A-listers in Hollywood, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, this career guide you sent actually mentions authors, athletes. It's a way wider range than I think most people realize.
100%. And that means to be successful, an agent has to wear a lot of hats. You know, one day they might be working on a book deal for a brand new author, and then the next they're figuring out a sponsorship for an athlete. It's really about understanding all these different fields, from the contracts to what's hot and what's not.
So basically, forget that image of the agent just being a smooth talker with a Rolodex.
Yeah, way more to it.
Because this guide actually highlights some really interesting skills you need to make it in this business.
Yeah.
And some of them I wouldn't have guessed. What really jumped out to you?
Well, one of the big ones, and this might sound counterintuitive, is actually listening.
Oh, interesting.
It's not just about pitching your client to anyone who will listen. You have to get them, their goals, their anxieties, even like their creative quirks. That's how you build trust and really tailor how you work with them.
So it's almost like you're their career therapist in a way.
Haha, kind of, right? Like a seasoned actor is going to be open to different kinds of roles than someone who's just starting out.
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of motivations, one thing that I was curious about in this guide was the section on ethical challenges,
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
because it can't always be easy,
Yeah.
right? What are some of the trickier situations an agent might find themselves in?
Well, think about it. What if you're representing two clients who are both up for the same role?
Oof, yeah.
How do you advise both of them fairly when it could mean one loses out? Or what about if a client wants to take on a project that you think could hurt their career in the long run?
Right. You're invested in them.
Exactly. It's a real balancing act, trying to do what's best for your client while also using your best judgment. It's a tightrope walk for sure. Yeah.
Sounds like it. So from what we've talked about so far, it seems like being a talent agent is about a lot more than just closing deals.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking building relationships, navigating all these ethical dilemmas, and staying ahead of the curve in an industry that's constantly changing.
It's definitely not a boring job, that's for sure. And it keeps you on your toes, I'd say.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So speaking to career paths, this source material actually breaks it down into like these three main stages: entry-level junior agent, and then like the big leagues senior agent.
Makes sense, right?
But what I found really interesting were those little example profiles they threw in. They're fictional, obviously,
Hmm.
but they give you a feel for what someone at each level is actually doing day to day.
For sure. It's one thing to talk about skills and all that, but when you see it play out in like a more realistic scenario,
Yeah,
it just clicks.
it's exactly. So let's start at the bottom rung here, entry level. What is life actually like for the new kid on the block?
Think of it like a trial by fire. No, but seriously, it's a lot of assisting the senior agents, managing clients, researching potential employers, maybe even wrangling talent at those big open auditions.
Oh yeah, the cattle calls.
Exactly. It's definitely grunt work, but it's how you learn the ropes, right?
Yeah.
Build relationships and show everyone what you're made of.
It's like that old saying, right? How do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Practice.
Haha, exactly. But in this case, it's perfecting your spreadsheet skills, your coffee order, and maybe developing a sixth sense for spotting the next big thing.
And dodging the occasional curveball from demanding clients. Let's not forget that.
Oh, I'm sure there are stories.
But
Hey, you survive all that and you ascend to the Howard Halls of junior agent.
now we're talking.
So what changes in this next stage?
This is where you really get your hands dirty. You're starting to build your own client list, taking on more responsibility, more independence. The junior agent profile here talks about setting up auditions and interviews, negotiating some smaller contracts. really honing those client management skills.
Sounds like the learning curve is still pretty steep, though.
Oh, absolutely. You're juggling multiple clients, each one with their own needs, their own personalities. And the deadlines are no joke. This is where those communication and negotiation skills really come into play. And remember those ethical dilemmas we talked about?
How could I forget?
Right. Well, they're not just theoretical anymore, they're happening.
Yeah.
And how you deal with them can make or break your reputation.
It's like high-stakes chess, but with people's careers on the line.
That's a good way to put it.
But play your cards right, and you just might level up to the big leagues, senior agent.
That's where it all comes together. The experience, the knowledge, the gut feelings.
So what does that look like day to day?
Well, senior agents often represent those big name clients, right? You're talking the multi-million-dollar deals, really guiding their whole careers over the long haul.
So they're not just negotiators at that point. They're almost like career strategists
Yeah.
or even mentors.
100%. They have this deep understanding of how the industry works, and they use that to help their clients make smart moves, decisions that align with their long-term goals. They can be trendsetters, too. They have a lot of influence on what gets made and who gets the spotlight.
It's amazing how much impact a single person can have in that role.
It really is. But, it's not all glitz and glamour. It takes years of hard work and dedication to get there. And a little luck never hurts.
And speaking of luck, or maybe the lack of it,
Yeah.
this source material doesn't sugarcoat things when it comes to breaking into this industry.
Not at all.
So for anyone listening who dreams of being that big-time agent, what are the key takeaways from these sections on getting started and elevating your career?
Oh, first things first, be ready for a fight.
Literally.
Well, not literally, but it is competitive. There are way more people who want to be agents than there are jobs, so you have to stand out.
And I imagine having a thick skin is helpful.
Oh, absolutely. Rejection is just part of the game, especially early on. You got to be persistent, resourceful, and always be learning, and never, ever underestimate networking.
It's all about who you know, right?
To a certain extent, yeah. This industry is all about relationships. So you got to start building those now. Go to events, reach out to people whose work you admire. You never know where that next connection might lead.
It's a mix of hustle strategy and good old-fashioned relationship building.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the human side of things, but we can't ignore the tech elephant in the room, right?
The algorithm is here to stay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this RoleCatcher tool you mentioned, I'm curious to hear more about how tech is changing the game for aspiring agents.
It's pretty wild, actually. And RoleCatcher is just one example. We're seeing AI pop up everywhere in this field, from analyzing skills and optimizing applications to even helping people practice for interviews.
Wow. So it's like having a virtual career coach in your pocket.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, right?
Makes you wonder, like,
Right.
could we get to a point where it's AI out there, scouting talent, negotiating those deals, maybe even picking up awards on the red carpet?
That's the million-dollar question right now. And it's definitely got people talking. On the one hand, AI is really good at the data side of things, right? I mean, it can analyze trend spot patterns and huge data sets, even draft contracts way faster than any human.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it, like an algorithm sifting through thousands of profiles and finding that diamond in the rough that we might miss.
Exactly. And just imagine the efficiency. No more back and forth emails about schedules, no more haggling over contract details. But, and this is a big, but AI can't really do the human stuff yet.
What do you mean?
That intuition, Like really understanding someone's creative vision, their personality, being able to connect on a personal level. AI hasn't cracked that node yet.
It's like they say technology can get you from A to B, but it takes a human to understand why you wanted to go there.
That's a good one. So instead of thinking about AI replacing agents completely, I think it's more about how it changes the game.
How so?
We're moving towards a future where tech helps us do what we already do, but better.
So agents will need to learn to work with AI, not against it.
Exactly. The agents who thrive will be the ones who use those tools to their advantage. Work smarter, not harder, and really focus on the things that make them uniquely human.
So instead of an enemy, it's more like a superpowered sidekick.
100%. Imagine an agent who knows exactly what's trending, what audiences want, how far a client's reach could be. That's powerful information. They could use that to make better deals, come up with killer strategies, really help their clients reach their full potential.
That's a pretty exciting way to look at it. For both agents and for the future of entertainment as a whole,
Definitely.
we can really go on about AI all day. But for now, let's bring it back to the humans behind all of this.
The ones making the magic happen.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key takeaways we want our listeners to remember about talent agents?
Well, I think it's clear that this is more than just a job. It takes a special kind of person to do this. You need that head for business, the people skills, and a real love for the arts.
And a thick skin from the sounds of it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, sure.
It's a business. But it's also incredibly rewarding. And at the end of the day, remember, even with all this new tech, the human element is still key. That ability to connect with people, understand what drives them, champion their creative vision. That's what makes a truly great talent agent.
If you're listening, and this has piqued your interest, don't stop here. There's a whole world out there to explore. You could dig into the ethical side of things or how streaming services are changing the game.
It's fascinating stuff.
It really is. And on that note, here's a final thought for you. If you were a talent agent, what kind of clients would you want to work with? What values or artistic visions would you be drawn to? Because at the heart of it, talent agents are in the business of stories.
And those stories, they shape the world we live in.
This has been an awesome deep dive. Thanks for joining us. And remember, keep those questions coming, because you never know where they might lead.